Hello, everybody. Today's reading from our Transformed by the Word reading plan zooms in on an interesting chapter in the Bible. Just one chapter, Isaiah chapter 39. Very interesting story. And I suppose the way I could summarize this before I say a bit more would be this: is it all about me? And if it is, should it be all about me? Or should it be about others? Should it be about God? Or is it all about me? Why? Well, there's a story found in Isaiah chapter 39, and it tells us about an episode in King Hezekiah's life. King Hezekiah was one of those good kings, not perfect, none of us are, but he was a good king. So the story in Isaiah 39 tells us that the king, he recovered from some form of illness, and the Babylonian king sends an envoy, a group of people, to visit him to bear some gifts to King Hezekiah. And so they come bearing gifts and, of course, goodwill. Then they visit King Hezekiah. But when they came, King Hezekiah, we are told in verse 2, he received all the envoys gladly, and then he shows them what was in his storehouses. But what did he show them exactly? Well, we are told in verse 2, he shows them the silver, the gold, the spices, the fine olive oil. And if that isn't enough, it tells us he shows them his entire armory and everything found among his treasures. And if we even have this question, did he show them everything, or was there something he did not show them? Well, the rest of verse 2 of Isaiah 39 tells us there was nothing in his palace or in all his kingdom that Hezekiah did not show them. Why in the world did he do this? Was he a king that was really very welcoming or really very hospitable, so that when any guests came, he showed them everything because there's nothing to hide, and he really wanted to show them that he was trusting them? Maybe he was that kind of a good, welcoming, and hospitable king. I think not. Because we are told in another verse, we're told in 2 Chronicles chapter 32, verse 31, where it captures also this episode of Hezekiah's life, that when these envoys came to visit King Hezekiah, God really left him alone to test him, to see what really was in King Hezekiah's heart. And so, well, I don't think King Hezekiah was being very welcoming, hospitable. I think he was really showing these Babylonian people what he had accumulated, what he had gained, what he has. It wasn't so much what belongs to God, but what belongs to him. So he was showing them, well, it's all about me. It's mine. It belongs to me. In other words, he showed them everything because he was proud. Are we really sure about that? Well, let's go on the story and see why we think that might be the correct conclusion that we can draw from King Hezekiah in this episode. Well, the prophet Isaiah finds out about this. He comes, he speaks to Hezekiah, asks him some questions. Hezekiah responds, and Isaiah's word therefore was this, found in verse 5 all the way down to verse 7. I summarize it. He says it two things. Firstly, because of what you have done, everything that you have showed, all the wealth, all the treasures, all these things will be removed from the kingdom and from you one day. That's the first thing he says. The second thing he says is this, that because of all this, your act this time round, how it's all about you, how it's your prideful self showing and not really giving credit to God. Because of this, the second thing that will happen is that some of your descendants in the years to come, they will find themselves as eunuchs serving in another royal court, not yours, but in another palace, the palace of the king of Babylon. And in verse 8, we hear these words, interesting words. Hezekiah says this to the prophet Isaiah. The word of the Lord you have spoken is good. What in the world? It's good? That all these treasures will one day be removed? It's good? That some of my descendants will be serving as eunuchs in the Babylonians' king or court or palace? That's good? How can that be good? Well, verse 8 continues. The word of the Lord you have spoken, Isaiah, is good. Why? Because Hezekiah was thinking, there will be peace and security in my lifetime. It's all about me. Should that be? That all that I have, all that I own, all that I enjoy now, it's really mine. It's me. It's all about me. And I gain pride from it. Is that right? And even when there are consequences to this kind of attitude, I'm thinking, well, at the very least, in my lifetime, it's still going to be peaceful and it's still going to have security. It's again all about me. Is that the right attitude to have? Well, none of us are kings. And none of us have all these things in our storehouses, silver, gold, fine olive oil, spices, armory, and everything else. But we do have our own treasures, our things that we cherish, things that we take pride in. May I just maybe give us two things to think about. Let us not take pride in what we own, because all these things come from God. They are rightfully His, not ours. There is nothing to be proud or arrogant about those things. It's not about me, it's about God. And also the attitude about me first. As long as I don't suffer, everybody else suffers, that's fine. No, that's not right. It's not all about me. It's about God, but it's also about others. Let's consider the people around us. Let's think for others. It's all about me? Nope. Let that never be our attitude. But let it always be about God and about others. Amen.